To everyone. The last verse that we saw was the 10th verse. Soshanam bhavasindoscha prapanam sara sampadaha yasya padodakam samyak tasmai sri gurave namaha. So here I told you last week that instead of giving several adjectives for the tasmai, kasmai to that guru, he has given here the one adjective which is taken in several parts. For instance, Shoshanam Bhava Sindoscha is qualifying Prapanam Sara Sampadaha, and that qualifies Padodakam Samyak. So like that, in one word or one sentence, it can be understood instead of having separate adjectives. So what does that mean? So Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, salutations to that Guru. Which Guru? Yasya Padodakam Samyak, whose the Padodakam, the water touched by the Guru's feet. It is called Padodakam. Pada means feet, Udakam means water. So Padodakam means water touched by the Guru's feet. That Samyak, that means completely. So Samyak here means completely. So if you take the water from the Guru's feet and you sprinkle on your head, that means you have taken fully. You see, many times we find, suppose we have got Ganges water in a bottle in our house we have got. Suppose I want to take Ganges bath today. Is it possible for me to go to Ganges all the way? So I take little water in my hand and sprinkle over myself. The sprinkling itself is enough. That it means that you have taken full Ganges bath. So likewise, so that Samyak means in all the ways, completely, that you have got. So I told you this session is not like a mere 1 hour talk and then you listen and then close it. I told you that I want your interaction. So you can raise your hand at any time and stop me and then ask question or give something. So last time I found one beautiful idea has come out from Chandrani. Is she there today? Okay. I do not know whether she's there.
Yes, Maharaj, I am there.
Oh, you are here. Okay. Thank you, Chandrani, for giving that idea. She has interpreted in another way. Can you yourself tell me what was your interpretation?
Yes, Maharaj.
Hmm.
To
The
get
10th
that, to get the treasures hidden into the deep ocean, one needs to somehow dry it up entirely by drinking it uh, or anyway. But to get the highest knowledge, which is the Atma Gyan, so to get that treasure of Atma Gyan, one drop of Guru's Padodak is enough.
Yes. So this is an interpretation she gives the meaning. So it's a problem is that whole ocean has to be dried out. This Bhava Samsara, that is the ocean of samsara, is to be dried out. She says you don't need to dry out all the so much of hardship. You don't need to do it. You just go to Guru's feet and then his grace, that sprinkling of that water is enough. So likewise, so you can have, that's why all these meanings, will come on your own when you think about that, meditate about each verse. So you will get some new ideas while thinking about these things. Now you see, in this verse, that 11th verse that we are going, let Malavika chant this.
Na guraradhikam tattvam, na guraradhikam tapaha, tattva jnanat param nasti, tasmai shri gurave namaha.
Thank you. So here also you find it has got 4 legs, that is 4 padas as we call it. And in each pada, you've got certain number of words. So in the first pada, na gurur adhikam tattvam. So na guroho adhikam tattvam is the word. Na is one word, guroho, and then adhikam. This guroho has got visarga. I told you last time also, the visarga, if it is followed by a or any of the vowels, it becomes ir, that is ref, as it is called. So here guror adhikam, it has come tattvam. So there are 4 words here. And the next leg, na guror adhikam tapaha. Here also 4 words are there. Na guror adhikam tapaha, 4 words. And in the third leg, you'll find tattva jnanat param nasti. As the 4 words are there. So in the same way, in the last one also, tasmai sri gurave namaha. So we know that tasmai sri gurave namaha means that we bow down to that guru. That guru, who is that guru? That is being always, we are giving that information, who was that guru. So here in this verse, Lord Shiva is telling to Parvati, so this na guror adhikam tattvam. It is translated here, there is no higher truth than the guru. That means tattvam is considered as a higher truth, and then na adhikam, that is, it is not more. Adhikam means excess, extra. Adhikam, increased quantity, is called adhikam. So there is nothing more than the tattvam, the higher truth, than what? If you say some superlative always, then, or comparative, if you bring anything, then you must say that than what it comes. If it is not higher, if you say highest, it's a different thing. You don't need to make any comparison. But if you want to say higher, then higher than what? Is a question comes. So he says, na guror adhikam. This tattvam that is not higher, that is the higher truth than the guru. There is nothing like that. That means the guru's truth is the highest. This guru tattvam, this guru tattvam is the highest. Now the question comes, what is exactly you mean by tattvam? The tattvam is constituting of 2 words. One is tat, that is ta halant, tat, and then another word is twa, that is half ta and va, tat twa. So in our common languages also, we use the word the ta as a vibhakti in many of the words that we use. For instance, a person is very sahishnuta. We say sahishnuta means tolerant. So a person has got the quality of sahishnuta in him. So we say he has got sahishnutva. Suppose a person, a great king, he has got a great kingdom. So what do you say? He has got a rajatva. Rajatva. The tva is added wherever indicating possessing of that quality we speak of. So tat tvam means what? Here it's not, you should not take as tvam, you, not that tvam. This is tat tva. So this tva, tattva means what? So it is, we say truth. Because that, whatever be that, it may be water, it may be fire, it may be sky, whatever be that, that quality is fully enshrined. It is included in that. So that is called tattva. So that means when we speak of guru tattva, so all the adjectives that so far we have used about guru, the knowledge of the highest knowledge is called tattva. So guru tattva. This guru tattva, is there any higher tattva than guru tattva? So for that, Shiva is telling, no, there is no higher knowledge than guru tattva. So there is no higher truth than guru. That means guru tattva is the highest. So by telling negatively, you must reduce that sentence into positive meaning. That means the Guru Tattva is the highest. So this Tattva is very interesting. This word is very interesting, I told you. So you can see that if you have the Gita book, you can refer in Gita, 7th chapter. 7th chapter of Gita, if you take, say, verse 3. What Sri Krishna is telling to Arjuna, you see, he is telling, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhahe yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. There is a word, the tattva word comes there. Tattvataha. So what is the meaning here? The same meaning. That is, hundreds of, not hundreds, thousands of people, only one wants to, or one tries to know me. Of the such people, of the thousands, only one, he understands me in true sense. That means thousands of people are trying to know what is God. And of the people who are trying, like that, you take another 1,000. That 1,000, only one actually knows about me. So Tattvata means what? Actually, whatever his knowledge. That is called Tattvata. So in the same meaning, Guru Tattva, we have to understand. Guru Tattva means that is it. So here we find Guru Tattva, there is nothing higher than the Guru Tattva. So what is this Guru Tattva? If you ask, then you can say Akhanda, Mandala, Karam, etc., etc. All those adjectives that have been given earlier. All those things are included in the Guru Tattva. Now second, Na Gurur Adhikam Tapaha. In the same way here also, in negative way he is speaking, there is nothing higher than the Guru penance. So as we said Guru Tattva, can we call it Guru penance? What is the penance of Guru? Is Guru doing penance or we are doing penance to see Guru? What is here penance means? So the great Acharyas, they describe this as service to Guru is the Guru penance. So he says tapaha. What is tapaha? Tapa means is warm. You know, tap means warmth. Tap means warmth. So body gets warm when you start doing tapasya. So people go to Himalayan mountain range and then sit there under the tree or the caves and then do tapasya. While doing tapasya, what happens? The body gets heat. That is the physical meaning of the tapasya. But mentally also we can do tapasya, is it not? Several types of mental tapasyas are there, like even telling truth. That is also a tapasya. Sri Ramakrishna says, in Kali Yuga, speaking truth is the tapasya. You may not do any of the tapasyas that the ancient people did, like Dhruva, what tapasyas he did, like others, or even the Asuras, how much tapasyas they have done. So Sri Ramakrishna says, nothing is required in this Kali Yuga. Merely telling truth is enough. That is a great tapasya. To tell truth also, you require a lot of courage. So that sort is na gurur adhikam tapaha. So here in tapasya, what meaning we should take? So the meaning says is as a service to Guru is the tapasya. So in service to Guru is a really tapasya. For instance, when Brahmananji used to be there in his room, so he had 2-3 sevaks. So one of the sevak was my Guru. So my Guru used to say that when my duty used to come and I used to go and sleep, say by 11 o'clock night, I'd go and sleep. And then sometimes in the night he may get up. Brahmananji may get up. At that time, I should not be sleeping. So I should also get up. And before he gets up, I should get up and give him help to go to bathroom. So that means what? When he will get up during the night, you do not know. So you are sacrificing your sleep for your guru, and you are waiting when I can render my service, my seva to my guru. This is a great tapasya. You know, tapasyas, this tapasya cannot come unless a person has got the gist knowledge of karma yoga. If you are not having the idea of what karma yoga is, where in karma yoga, there are several principles are there. One of the principles is completely deny oneself of any benefits, of any pleasure that you are accustomed to. It's a great tapasya. You know, I call our mothers who come to our ashram here and bring everyday food. It's a great tapasya they are doing. How much tapasya? They have to get up early, cook for us, and then drive the vehicle, come here, serve us, clean the kitchen and go. So much of sacrifice, if it is not there, this work cannot be done. So the karma yoga principle must be available. So I am tempted to tell a story here. Whether I should tell or not, I don't know. But if there is a time, I can add it. The story is with me, you know. Swami Gambhirananji Maharaj was the general secretary at that time. We were in training center. So Brahmacharis, see, he had great difficulty in the vision. So he could not see properly in the night, even in the light, etc. if you put. So what happened? Every day, see, the day and night, no seva can work. You know, he will be definitely tired. One person cannot work. We require at least 6 hours, 4 hours sleep. So what we want to do, every night, one brahmachari is allotted. So he would go there by 9 o'clock, we would go to his room and stay there and do all his, put his bed, put the mosquito net, put water in his jug, etc. Everything done. And then he will say, good night, go, Subharatri, he will say. Then we will sleep down on the floor. We have got a mat and we will sleep. In Belur Math, you know, you don't need any bed, etc. Simple mat and a small pillow is enough because it's so hot here. And then he would be put into the bed. Now, at what time he will get up, we do not know. So the whole night you have to keep vigil. And then only when he gets up, you might immediately get up, go to the bathroom, put on the light and hold his hand and then take him to the bathroom, etc. All those things should be done. So that is why we were there. Now, one of the time, that is, I am also getting by rotation. So several days I have done very well. There was no complaint against me. But one night, the weather was so cool and rains came. I don't know, the weather is cool in a hot place and with cool, it is cools down and then rains come, you know. So I slept there and then simply I went into sleep. And when he got up, I didn't know. How I came to know that he got up was when I got up suddenly, it was also in the night only, say after 1 hour or so, I got up. Then I felt, oh, I have slept away. I should not have done this. Like that I'm seeing here, and all the windows are closed because they were all open. You know. All the windows are closed. I said, that means Maharaj got up. He himself has closed all the windows and he has got into the bed also. And nothing I knew. I felt so bad, you know. I thought, what a pity on me. I have come a brahmachari and I have neglected my duty, my seva to him. What is this? Then, anyway, after that I didn't sleep. Then morning came, the Mangalarti bell went. Then I opened all the windows, etc. Everything okay. And then before leaving, we make pranam to Maharaj and tell Maharaj, okay, Maharaj, I am leaving. So he will bless you. So in the same way, I bowed down to him. He sat on his sofa. I bowed down to him. He blessed me the same way. And then I had the courage to tell him, Maharaj, please excuse me. Yesterday night, somehow I slept away and you had to get up and close all the windows, etc. I'm so sorry for that. He said, no, you don't need to feel anything sorry. But when your duty comes next time, you must have read the Karma Yoga of Swamiji. Then only you should come here. He said, yes, Maharaj. I said, then I went to my training center, and started reading thoroughly Karma Yoga under one master. One Acharya was there. I said, Maharaj, you please read me out and explain Karma Yoga. What is Swamiji's Karma Yoga? We all say that service is very good. Service can be done like that. But you won't do any mistake in your service if you have the knowledge of Karma Yoga. For whom you are doing this? Even if you take it, I'm doing for my guru, that is a lower type of karma. If it has to be a Karma Yoga, you have to completely surrender the benefits that are going to accrue to you. You should not care about the benefits that you are getting. Whether I will get benefit or not, it doesn't matter. That complete, that self-sacrifice has to be there. And that itself is a great tapasya. So here, Gurna Guru Adhikam Tapaha means there is no better service to Guru. If you can do any type of service to anybody, all those services come under this service category. Service to Guru is the highest. So if you have service to Guru, you don't need anything. In Shankaracharya's life also we see one of his disciples was Manda Buddhi. Manda Buddhi means he has got dull-witted mind. So dull-witted boy. But that he cannot grasp any grammar rules. He cannot understand the Sanskrit verses. The language he doesn't know. With that type of Manda Buddhi, what he was doing? But he used to do service to Guru very, very punctuously, and everything he would done excellent way. But Shankaracharya, before taking his class, he would wait for that boy. And all the other brahmacharis, under him, they used to be jealous of him. And then one day they told him, sir, why are you waiting for him? Anyway, even if he attends, he is not going to understand anything. Because nothing enters his brain. So they were making fun. But Shankara called him. At that time, he was washing the clothes of Guru. When Shankara called him, the other side of the river, he was doing that. There was no bridge. He can go to the bridge and then come this side. But when Shankaracharya called the disciple, what he did? He straight away started walking on the water. Unmindful. He may be just even drowned. But at that moment, the Guru's grace worked. Under each foot, when he took the foot, one lotus flower came and held him. So he could walk the entire river across. So that is this. That's why he says that na gurur adhikam tapaha. Service to Guru is the highest. So there are many examples in our lives. Third one, tattva jnanat param nasti. Here also Lord Shiva is using the negative words. Nasti means not that, not there. What is not there? Param nasti. Param means the supreme. Supreme. So there is nothing supreme. Param nasti. There is nothing supreme. Nothing supreme than what? Tattva jnanat. The knowledge of truth. Tattva jnanat. As I told you, tattva, that is tattva, and the jnana. Can you tell me how many times this word jnana has been used so far? If you just go through the previous verses, the jnana word has been used 3 times. Verse 3. Verse 3, you will find Jnananjana Shalakaya. The collyrium stick of knowledge is used. And then, where else the jnana word is used?
Verse 8.
8. What is that?
Jnana Shakti Samarudha.
Jnana Shakti Samarudha. So, with the possession of Jnana Shakti, you are established knowledge. And again, another jnana comes.
9.
Jnanagni danena. Atma Jnana, that is what. So here, Tattva Jnana. Here I would like to refer to the Gita verse. If you have the book Gita, please see that. The Gita verse, 13th chapter. 13th chapter, verse 8 to 12. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So all the 5 verses are put together. You'll be surprised that word Jnana, Tattva Jnana has been used by Sri Krishna. So the Tattva Jnana, he says, whatever I have told you, the qualities, opposite to those qualities are ignorance. And these qualities constitutes Tattva Jnana. What are those qualities? He says, Amanityam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantir, Arjavam. Like that, one by one he is quoting. And then he is coming to that place, the last verse, that is verse 12. Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam, Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So Tattva Jnanartha Darshanam. So you have that darshan. Darshan means here perceiving. That absolute knowledge, philosophical pursuit of the absolute truth, that is declared to be the knowledge. That is called not knowledge. So this Tattva Jnanat Param Nasti. So any type of knowledge you take, that is all coming under the category of lower category of the Jnana. Only this Tattva Jnana is the Param. So the Tattva Jnana, here what does it mean? Atma Tattva Jnana. That is what it means. It is not about, say, chemistry Tattva Jnana or mathematics Tattva Jnana. So it is nothing of those subjects. So the Atma Jnana is considered as the supreme knowledge. And that supreme knowledge, there is nothing higher than that supreme knowledge. What a beautiful way he put it. Tattva Jnanat Param Nasti. Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Let us pass on to the next verse. Malvika, any question on this verse? Any idea that you get? It need not be also a question. If you have any comment or remarks, you can say.
So previously, many a times I have heard you saying that Guru's instruction has to be followed implicitly. And I somehow noted the word implicitly.
Okay.
So what, like, does it has any relation to opposite or a comparison to the word explicit versus implicit?
No, it's not explicit, it's not exactly opposite implicit, though it is grammatically correct. Here what you mean is, implicitly means without giving any idea of straying away from the instruction. See, we may stray away from the instruction several times. So he has told me, say, morning and evening, you should sit for Japam. Guru has given instruction. Now, morning, I could not do. So I will do it in noon time. I will do it at 3 o'clock. I myself decide this. So that is not implicit obedience. But nothing wrong with that. If you do it 3 o'clock also, you are going to get the same punya only. Nothing wrong in that. But then the command is not being followed implicitly. So explicitly is not the word exactly for that. So staying away from that, yes.
Maharaj, sorry, a personal one.
Yes, Gaurav, yes.
Namaste. So, Maharaj, which year you were in training center, Maharaj?
Oh, I was in training center. Yes, 76 to 78.
Nice. Thank you.
You are not born, I think.
I was not born, no. I was in the cosmic state that time.
Okay. Yes. You know, many things we learned from Swami Gambhiranandaji Maharaj. You know, he was a great man of knowledge and he used to teach us many things. So in that way, simple things. he would teach us. Yes. Okay, you can chant the next verse.
Mannatha Sri Jagannatho Madguru Sri Jagadguruhu Madatma Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Yes, this is a beautiful word. Actually, as I told you, this is a conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati. So here Shiva is telling. That's how the Vaishnavas interpret this verse. But there is another interpretation also, I will tell you. The Vaishnavas, they are elated and delighted at this verse. Why? Shiva himself is telling, Mannatha Sri Jagannatho. So that's how they get delighted. Anyway, we'll see the meaning now. Here also we find in the first leg, Mannatha means Matnatha. Mat is the word. And after Matnatha, since the ta half, that is halant is there, is followed by na, that is na. So it is changed into n. So Mannatha. Mannatha Sri Jagannatha. Here also you see Jagat plus Natha. Jagat plus Natha becomes Jagannatha. Otherwise you can't pronounce, Even in the normal pronunciation, Jagat Natha, it's very difficult to pronounce when you are in a colloquial terms. And then you have to pronounce a Jagannatha. Yes. Then Mat Guruhu. Here also same thing. Here, there Mat becomes Man because Na is following. Here, Mat becomes Da. So Mad Guruhu. Because Ji comes, Gu, that is Ga comes. Ka, Ga, Ga, Ga. That Ga comes, it is called fourth letter. The fourth letter of the alphabet, when it comes, it becomes the Mad. That is a rule. And in the same way, Sri Jagat Guruhu, there also you find Jagat is there. Ta only. Ta half ta is Jagat is there. But because Guru Ga comes, so it becomes Jagat Guru. Jagat Guru we say, that D, double D we put it. So it is Jagad. So pronounced as Jagad. If you separate it, it is Jagat. Then in the third one, same Mat is there. But since Atma is there, that Mat, that it is joined with A, then it becomes Mada. So Madatma. It becomes Madatma. Sarva Bhutatma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. To that Guru I bow down. So my salutations to that Guru. Which Guru? He is telling in indirect way. Previously he was telling as an adjective to that Guru. Now you will find no adjectives is used, but you have to infer the adjectives. So let us go to the first one. Mat Nataha Sri Jagat Nataha. If you combinedly read, Mannatha Sri Jagannatho. Here also, the Natho, it ends, it is actually Nataha. That Visarga has been removed. It becomes O because it followed by Ma. That is a rule, Sandhi rules as we say. So, Mannatha Sri Jagannatha. So, my Natha, my Lord is Sri Jagannatha. So, we all know who is Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. But one Lord is specifically called Jagannath, that is Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna. They are called Jagannatha. So in Puri is very famous for Jagannath temple. So Jagannath is residing in Puri, we say. So why? Because he is the Lord of the universe. So he is in Puri, in Jagannatha. So Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva is telling here, my Lord is Jagannatha. So you can interpret this as that Puri Jagannath, that Lord Krishna is what Sri Krishna, so Lord Shiva is worshipping. That is one way of interpretation. But the Vedantic interpretation is Jagatnatha, who is Jagatnatha? Who is the Lord of this universe? If the universe is nothing but the expansion of that Brahman, and that part of the Brahma Shakti is within me as Atma Shakti, then am I not the Lord of the universe? So the Advaita Vedantis interpret this as my Lord is Jagannatha, means that my Lord is my Atman. Because the Atman is standing behind all these things. What are these things? That is physical body, Stula Sharira, then subtle body, that is Sukshma Sharira, then causal body, Karan Sharir, and behind that, that Atman is there, which is controlling the entire process of my being, my living. So that is called, so this Atma is the highest. And this Atma is nothing but not different at all from Brahman. So Brahman is the universe of universal supreme God. So if you take it as a God, then you can think as Jagannatha. So even Lord Shiva himself is used as Shankara says Jagannath. Hey Jagannatha, Prabhu is like that he says. Shankara calls Shiva himself Jagannath. So whether it is Brahma or Vishnu or Shiva, it doesn't matter. Jagannatha is Lord of this universe. Do you accept some power, supreme power, as creating, preserving, and destroying? That supreme power is called the Lord of the universe. Whatever it may be, whatever deity you may worship, it doesn't matter. So whoever is telling this, my Lord is Jagannatha, can visualize in his mind whoever deity he is worshipping, he can term it, consider him as Jagannatha. If Lord Shiva is thinking of a Lord, it is said in the Puranas, what Lord Shiva meditates upon. Actually, it is said, our Tulsidas says, Lord Shiva meditates upon Sri Ram. And Sri Ram meditates upon Lord Shiva. So that's how they put together, they bring that unity. So there is no problem or fighting between each. So the unity is brought here. So here we can take it as Jagannatha, as whoever deity, my Lord. So whoever deity you worship, you consider that as your Jagannatha. Because any deity, according to this theory of Ishta Devata theory, any deity that you are taking it as Ishta Devata must not be kept at any cost, at any lower level. That's why you find Hare Krishna people are why they write, they speak, etc. So much about telling Krishna. Krishna is the supreme, and all the other gods and goddesses are called demigods. But then a man who is worshipping Shiva, a man who is worshipping Devi will not accept that theory, you see. So it creates problem. So they say, but then you must appreciate the nishtha of the Hare Krishna people. You see, for them, Krishna is the supreme. So whoever is taking Krishna as my Lord, that is Mannatha. So that Mannatha, then my Lord, then he should be considered as the topmost. Nothing less than that. That's why, that devotees of Ramakrishna order are slowly coming up with this idea and trying to take Sri Ramakrishna or Holy Mother in their meditation to the highest level. Because your Ishta, your chosen deity must be at the highest level. It doesn't contradict any other thing. You are not actually putting other deities down below, mind you. But you consider your Ishta Devata as the highest. So that is what this verse is telling us. Whoever be your Ishta Devata, consider the Ishta Devata as Jagannatha, as the Lord of the universe. Then Mad Guru, Sri Jagat Guru. So who is Jagat Guru? Here also, the Vaishnavas have got a step further. They say Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Jagat Guru means Sri Krishna. Like that they say. Okay, it doesn't matter if it is not a problem at all. But Jagat Guru is the same your Ishta Devata. What Sri Ramakrishna gives here beautifully, Satchidananda alone is Guru. He has put a clear rule. Satchidananda Yi Guru. That Yi he has added as the emphasis. Satchidananda alone is Guru. That Satchidananda comes in different names and forms before you. So your Guru's name and form may be different from the other person's Guru. It doesn't matter. Whoever you may have Guru, it doesn't matter. But Satchidananda, the Supreme Spirit, alone is Guru. So if he comes, he is my Jagat Guru. Because Satchidananda is alone Guru means he is in the form of different forms, he is going to other people. So the whole universe, he is spreading in different names and forms. He himself is coming down. That means my Guru, who is my Guru? My Guru is Jagat Guru. So that step you have to keep it. Whoever sees his Guru as human is doing a great sin. In Kularnava Tantra, one verse comes. Immediately I don't remember the Sanskrit verse. It's a beautiful verse. I've got in my notes. I'll take it out later. Next week I can tell you. So this verse says that whoever sees in his Guru a human form, that he is doing a great sin. Whoever sees in an image as a stone, he is doing a great sin. So this, what is your perception of your Guru? Do you think your Guru was born in such and such place, etc.? In Ramakrishna's birthday, when we celebrate, we speak about that. Ramakrishna don't think a mere person, a boy who was born, a baby was born in Kamarpukur village. Those are all historical facts. But what is he really is a great question that comes up for the devotees. So you consider him as Jagannatha and consider him as Jagat Guru. That's why in Ramakrishna tradition, the Swamis who give initiation, they will tell their disciples clearly, I am not your Guru. Your Guru is Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna. I am only a messenger. That's all. I brought his name to you. That's all my work is. I am like a postman. Swami Gahananandji, Naresh Maharaj, he used to always say, I am a postman. Very proudly he would say. Though he was a guru and he was initiating many people, and he would say that, no, I am not a guru. Don't consider me as your guru. Your guru is Sri Ramakrishna, who is Satchidananda. Satchidananda has come in this form at this age. So you must consider Satchidananda as a guru. So this is wonderful, educative idea for the devotees, how to consider one's guru. So you can, yes.
Sorry, Swamiji, one quick question, Swamiji. Maybe you have already answered, but in all the Guru Stotram verses, what we are learning now, whenever we hear about the adjectives and qualities of Guru, do we think of Sri Ramakrishna at that time? Isn't it not the physical Guru who gave us the mantra diksha? Because you said Thakur alone is the Guru, so I believe that should be the attitude. Is that correct?
Yes. But
Okay.
then there is nothing wrong in considering your physical Guru also like that. There's nothing wrong. Only problem is if you are considering him as a human only, then you will be erring in many ways. Suppose I told you one story of this in this class and some other class, I don't know where, that lady came to me and she was crying. She said, my Guru is suffering on the hospital bed. What is this? Because she considered him as a human being. She did not consider him as a Satchidananda, you see. So there only we are making errors. So then you will have a problem. So if your Guru is sitting somewhere and he is talking to somebody, you may think, oh, this Guru is very fond of only rich people. No, you may come into such type of ideas you get. So long you are thinking as a human. So that mistake, if you have not done, then that human guru also can be considered, all these adjectives can be applicable. Yes. But in our tradition, in Ramakrishna tradition, our gurus always make us understand that no, I am a guru, I have brought this mantra to you, that's enough. That's a postman. But the guru is Sri Ramakrishna. So that idea also is given to us.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yes. Then in the third one, Mad Atma Sarva Bhuta Atma. We already seen Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha in one of the earlier one. So Sarva Bhuta Atma, Sarva Bhuta means all beings. Atma, the self. The self of all beings is myself. So here the self is capital S. Myself. So what is myself? As I said, behind the physical body, subtle body, and the causal body, there is one permanent item is there, and that is called Atman, which is the basis. That is called self, capital S. Swamiji, in his lecture on Vedanta, given in Lahore, in one place he says that there is no exact English translation to the word Atman. Because in places of English, where English has been used, this Atman has not been discovered yet. So there is no language for that. So the Germans have found out. So Germans only introduced the word self with a capital S. So that has been adopted in English also. In German language, whatever be the word, I do not know. So that word capital S they put for self, for Atman. So that has been adopted in English. So in English also we are using the word self in capital S. The capital S does not mean yourself, the small self. The self that is behind you is what understood, which is equivalent to, in the Sanskrit word, is Atman. So Atma. Atman is a word, but when you refer it as that, then you got to Atma. So that Atma has got several meanings also. In the whole of Gita, you'll find in many places, Atma word is used in the idea of self. And in many places, you use the word in the idea of body also. Because we associate body as self also. You know, my body, etc. when we say. And who are you? Said myself. We say, myself, I do not know. Like that we say. So what does mean? We are associating with mind at that time. So likewise, we are always associating this self word with our own body-mind complex. But behind that, there is one self, which is not changeable. Unchanging self is there. That is capital S. So that is what he has said, Mad Atma, myself. So what is that myself? Myself is Sarva Bhuta Atma. That self is in everywhere. Behind every being, what self is there? That self is within me. So when we see the world, you know, when we see the world, we see ourselves as one unit, and then see the world outside as all different from me. So when I go, when I go to Glendalough here, then I will see a lot of trees, lot of mountains, lot of water bodies, etc. And lot of lambs and sheep also I will see. But everything I will consider and enjoying seeing those sceneries, thinking they are all completely different from me. Me is one unit, and those are all different units. But if you see as a man standing in the sky, you look at the earth, then all the people and all the animals, all the birds, all the mountains, rivers, etc., everything are part of this world, part of this nature. So am I not part of the nature? Though I am part of the nature, I consider myself as separate from the nature and look at the nature separately. So this is something, a conundrum in the human mind. The human mind always thinks this is like that. So this difference between the other beings and me should not be there when you have Atma Jnana, because you are seeing yourself in every being. In every being, you have to see. I told you the story of Swamiji in Almora when he was passing through, how he felt pain in his foot, when somewhere at a distance, one tribal man was carrying the firewood, and then the whole firewood fell on his foot, and he was suffering from the pain. So Swamiji felt sitting here or walking here, he felt so much pain. In Sri Ramakrishna's life, we have got very good incident. Anybody can remember that incident where he felt another's pain as his pain?
Yes, one boatman slapped at the back of another boatman, and he cried out in pain, and Hriday asked and then saw the fingerprints on his back.
Yes, yes, that's a good example.
Another
So,
one was more with the grass. Somebody was walking.
yes, that's also another incident said. Yes, somebody walked on the very good flush grass, green grass, and Sri Ramakrishna felt and he cried. And Hriday asked, "Mama, why are you crying? Uncle, why are you crying?" He said. He said, "No, somebody walked over me." "No, nobody walked over you. You are sitting here quietly." Somebody walked over the grass, He identified himself with the grass. How did he identify? What does that mean? Identification means, say you are sitting here, I'm seeing, say, somebody walking there. How can I identify myself with that person? So in physical level, the identity has not come.
He loses his body
Ramakrishna is not
consciousness.
identified with the grass sprouts. Behind that grass, that is a being. Behind that grass being, that Atma is there, and his Atma, that Atma is one. That is the identification. Yes.
So is that does he achieve this by losing his body consciousness?
Yes, correct. Completely he was out of body consciousness. See, he didn't know that. What he made was the self identified itself with the self of the grass. Okay, both are one. At that time, he assumed the body of the grass as his, because he has identified with the grass self. So that's how the identification comes. That's called empathy, the difference between sympathy and empathy. They say sympathy is you be compassionate. But empathy is you identified with another person. If somebody tells me that, "Maharaj, I am weeping, I am crying today because my mother passed away in India." Today I got a phone call like that, and I had to console that lady for a long time because of the suffering that she's undergoing. It's a great painful thing. What has happened? She has identified herself with mother in lower terms, not in the Atmic level, but in the lower term. She is my mother. I lost my mother today. So that is the terrible thing comes. So you can identification can take in many planks, in many steps. Okay. So in the lower steps, you can take it as my child, my spouse, my father, my mother. These are all physically related. Or you can say, my neighbor must be okay. Nobody should accuse my neighbor. Like that, we go further out of my body relation, we go to neighbors. Then we go to our relations. And then we go to our country, my countrymen. How many Indians in Ireland are feeling bad, what is happening in India now? Because they all feel bad. Why? Because this resurgence of so my countrymen are suffering. So the country has become the mode of identity. Now the country, you go rise further. You can feel the same pain when your countrymen are suffering. You can feel the same pain if somebody suffers in Brazil also. Though Brazil is not your country, you can still feel. That means you become a world level, you can identify. In Atma level, you can identify with any being. So Madatma, Sarva Bhutatma. How beautifully Shiva says this. So he says, this is an idea, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah, to that Guru who is teaching me these 3 levels of experience. What are the 3 levels of experience? One is, my Lord is Jagannatha, and my Guru is Jagat Guru, and my Atma, myself, is existing in all the beings. That is, I am in everything. These three experiences is given by the Guru. To that Guru, I bow down. Any question on that? Catherine, is it okay? English is okay for you?
I don't understand the all yet, but it's wonderful. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Regarding this universal feeling, Swamiji, there's a incident in Swami Vivekananda's life where he woke up at night. There was an earthquake in Japan or Fiji somewhere, and many people died, and he had a terrible bad feeling from Belur Math. He could
In Belur Math, where Swamiji was staying, Dermot, you must have read this Swamiji's life. Swamiji was staying on the top, first floor. And ground floor, Swami Vigyan Maharaj was staying. Swami Vigyan Maharaj heard the stepping sound of Swami Vivekananda at midnight. Then Vigyan Maharaj woke up and then, what is that? Swamiji has not gone to sleep. He is still walking on that veranda. So he came up and he found Swamiji in a terrible posture. He is walking, but he could not even approach him. And he found in full tears. So Swamiji was in tears. So Vigyan Maharaj goes to him, says, Brother Naren, what has happened to you? Why you are so much, what has happened? Why you are in tears? Then Swamiji said, Vigyan, he used to call him Beshon. He said, Beshon.
No, patient.
Huh?
Patient.
Patient. Yes, patient. So he said, patient, you see, I was sleeping. Suddenly, I realized that near Fiji, there was an earthquake and thousands of people died. And I couldn't sleep. And my heart goes to those people who died and to those who survivors. So what has happened to them? So I could not, so I am walking here and there, praying to Sri Ramakrishna to give them some peace, like that he was telling. And then next day, then all the newspapers flashed that in near Fiji, there was an earthquake and so many thousands of people died. See, sitting in Calcutta, Vivekananda could identify himself with the entire world. So his sleep means not like our sleep, we are all ghoda bech kar sote hain, bolte hain na Hindi mein, that, selling the horse, you sleep, as they say in Hindi. It's not like that. His sleep was, Nidra is samadhi for him.
Yoga
As Shankara
Nidra.
says. Nidra is samadhi. So in the samadhi, he could identify himself with the entire world. So in any part of the world, any mishap happens, he can feel that. Yes, that's a very good example. Thank you, Malavika. Yes?
Is this is this Yog Nidra that you mentioned about? That,
Exactly.
Yog
Yes,
Nidra.
correct. Yoga Nidra is the word for that. Okay, then. Thank you. We should meet next week.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranam, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranam.
Mantehi Harihi Om Tatsat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Pranam Maharaj.
Namaskar. Bhalo Durga to everyone.
Durga.
Goodbye and good wishes to everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you all. Bye.